Good morning. Can you hear me? Yeah. Good morning, everyone. What Eric has not said is that I retired, an active retirement, one could say, last August from McGill. I turned 70 in August, and this event is the first one. I did not want any McGill celebration for my retirement, because I really wanted my role model those days is Jimmy Carter. And like him, I hope I'm just starting the last third of my life, and hopefully will continue working until the day I die, and hopefully dying healthy. So this event is really the first formal post-retirement event for continuing building what we call this convergence between what we do on the money-making, power and status and so on, and meaning-making, because we are all human beings, and technically money was to serve what we wanted to do as human beings. And guess what? After the last 300 years of industrial revolution, we have reached a state where money has become essentially much of the driver of what we do. At some point, if you make money, you want to become philanthropists after, or some don't want to become philanthropic and want to make money until the end of their life. But the bottom line is that to what extent can we see to what extent we can really look at this convergence between the reality of money making, but also we are supposedly a higher species that has evolved beyond the animal. To what extent can we translate this into our lifestyle, but also into the human-made system that we have been putting together since the last 300 years. So it was the first revolution. We are now at the fourth one, where the physical, the human, and the digital are becoming blurred more than ever. And we do believe that it is time and possible, in spite of everything we hear around, that accelerate really this transformation. It is clear that infinite growth cannot work on a planet that has finite horizon and capability. So this is my short intro. Paul, I'm letting you introduce. Oh, you have your mic. Okay.
It's wonderful to see everyone here today. Thank you for being here on this very cold morning. I should say first, this is Lorette's making. She has made this. I am honored.
Shakespeare.
I am honored to be her co-chair. Look, I have been a Shakespeare specialist, teacher, researcher my whole life. Shakespeare has made my living. I make money from teaching and doing research on Shakespeare. But Shakespeare has also been my conversation partner. He has brought meaning to me at the particular moments in my life. My mother's Alzheimer's, my father's death, I turned to him. And guess what? He was willing to have a conversation with me that helped me see my way through. In Shakespeare's own time, he was more than a conversation partner. He made a lot of money as one of the inventors of the modern entertainment industry. That's really true. Disney, Amazon, all of that is a descendant of what Shakespeare and his company made in London in the late 16th century with the invention of the pay-to-see the playhouse. But he was also what my great colleagues in the Faculty of Management call a social entrepreneur. Not only did he make money for himself and for the members of his company, but he made meaning for the thousands upon thousands of ordinary people who paid a penny to see the plays. And what they were able to do is to gather in a space that they created, the players and Shakespeare created, where they could think and feel together about questions of urgent concern, about political power, about gender, about sexuality, about race, about indigeneity, and so on. This is something that made the world modern. So what we are doing today is trying to recreate the extraordinary playhouse space, say, of the Globe Theatre, bringing these extraordinary people that have gathered here into a conversation with the Shakespeareans among us, with Shakespeare as the tertium quid, the third thing that will help us drive this conversation. And to start this conversation, we are honored and delighted that we are joined by these four extraordinary people. Let me invite you first, Dean Chan, to speak. We've asked them to take no more than 3 minutes each. Okay?
To address.
This is how good they are. To talk about the relationship between meaning making and money making for them.
I have to comment that they are not committing their faculty. They are here as human beings. But we need all of their faculty if we have to reach scale. Dean Chan?
Thank you so much. Again, it's a pleasure to be here. And it's a real honor to engage in this very meaningful and fascinating conversation. So as the dean of a management faculty or business school, this question is important, and it's deeply connected to the academic mission. To many, the purpose and values of a business school might seem merely to be centered around money making, financial markets, shareholder returns. And indeed, I would concede that this was true when business schools were first formed. However, over the years, the definition of success has certainly changed. It's evolved. It reflects shifting priorities and understandings of our constituents. Success is no longer about maximizing profits primarily or only. It's also about making important societal contributions. We live and work in an increasingly tumultuous, disrupted, chaotic world, marked by pandemics, social movements, geopolitical conflicts. It is clear that business leaders today must navigate uncertainty and be able to think critically about complex, really difficult issues that go far beyond the bottom line. So, young people ask questions today like, can a company be considered to be truly profitable if it's just polluting the environment on its way to that bottom line? Can we view it as profitable if it's engaging in unethical labor practices? And it's clear that the interest in the social impact of business has surged, certainly among today's students and researchers. And there is a much greater emphasis on leadership values. So our students aspire to build their businesses. They are entrepreneurs indeed, many of them. And they aim for commercial success while also being socially and environmentally responsible. And I will say that at Desautels, we balance money making with meaning making. Business schools like ours are placing a significant emphasis on purpose. Beyond equipping our students today with skills and tools for industry, we also instill expertise in ethical decision-making, sustainability, and equity, diversity, and inclusion, for example. These happen to be Desautels priorities, but they're also my priorities, my personal priorities. And I'll just speak personally for a moment. I come from a family of lawyers who, while established economically, have always emphasized social justice. We never saw money and meaning as conflicting. They were complementary. Money provided the resources that we needed to be influential, and influence was always used for social good. I grew up loving maths, a core business subject, and English literature. They were my two best subjects, by the way. I studied Shakespeare for years.
Really?
I did, and his work was very meaningful to me personally. Maths and literature for me are complementary. Money and meaning are complementary. And my career in business and in academia has been driven by the desire to excel, yes, to be profitable, but also to engage in meaningful work and to give others the opportunity to do the same. My goal has always been to leave a lasting impact, a positive one. So I'll wrap up by saying that I believe that academics, management academics, have a significant responsibility and the potential to make differences, not just in the bottom line, but in transforming businesses, community, and society. Not only do we make money, not only do we help everyone to be financially well, we also do good. In fact, my motto for this management faculty is Desautels the Great, Desautels the Good.
So thank you, Laurette, for this invitation. We've known each other for 15 plus years. And Laurette reached out to me, and I just want to talk about our relationship as an example of multidisciplinarity. Many people talk about that, but Laurette really walks the walk when it comes to bringing people from very diverse environments. So I'm a neurologist, and I study the brain, and in particular I study how we make decisions, and sometimes bad decisions can lead to illness, and also how neurological or psychiatric illness can impair our decision making. And Laurette realized that this might be interesting for something she was very interested in at the time, which was food and the food environment as a cause of illness. And you know, nowadays everybody talks about ultra-processed foods and the food environment, but Laurette was talking about this 20 years ago. And we've worked together on this for the last 20 years, and it's been a very exciting and interesting journey. Specifically, you know, opening my vision to other people, to people in the Faculty of Management, but economics, agriculture, many other faculties that, you know, normally you don't interact with because you just focus on your research, which is still a good thing to do, but it's also good sometimes to go out of your so-called silo. So I want to thank you for this, and hopefully we can continue this journey for many years.
If I may add to this, this event is a prequel to hopefully a 5 years and more roadmap for this money-making and meaning-making convergence. But at the time, first time I sat in your office, you remember, Alain is treating Parkinson. And I was trying to convince him that DOPA may be relevant to treat obesity. And you almost kicked me out of your office. And then the year after, we had the first McGill Health Challenge think tank in 2005. And we made the cover of the McLean magazine, I think. But most importantly, it is true that now it has gone too much in the other direction. But it has been transformational for many, many, many line of work, research, or action. Valérie.
Yes.
Good morning, everyone. So I'm Valérie Orsat. I'm currently the interim dean for the Faculty of Agricultural and Environmental Sciences at McGill. I've known Laurette also nearly 20 years. And I come from the meaning-making part of the convergence that she's targeting, and I've always had some difficulty adhering to the economical aspect of the convergence. I started my career in international development, so it was about going to villages in Ethiopia or India and helping villages get proper access to food. I'm teaching them agriculture practices, food transformation practices, so that they can, have a good life. It wasn't so much about money making. And then Laurette says, no, they also have to be making money. I go, yeah, but money messes everything up. Like once you make money, you always want to make more money. And the more money you make, the less you want to share it with everyone, right? So I've always been
to be.
Yeah, I know, but in general, that's where it leads to. So we've always had difficulty at coming to that convergence. But 20 years after, I'm still here, still trying to adhere to that. You could be looking at money and meaning making at the same time. So in our approaches to international development now with Laurette, we have a number of projects, we are trying to develop the micro-entrepreneurial aspects of our projects. It's not just about teaching on how to do it, but then how to also make money in doing it. So it's definitely been a learning process for me, but I still have difficulty. If you look at how it's going for enterprises in North America, a CEO will make a lot more money than the average salary of their employees. You're looking at 250 to 300 times more a salary of a CEO of a big company than their average employee, which was not the case, 50 years ago. So what happened? And in the end, people want to make more money. So how do we come to that average where we're all trying to do good, we're all trying to make enough money to be happy, but how much is enough money to be happy? And I'm not sure we know, and I'm not sure we can control it, but we could try to help people work together to have that compromise between having enough money and doing good with that money. So that's what I see. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much for the invitation to join this already riveting conversation, listening to these different perspectives. I'm Lisa Shapiro. I'm the Dean of the Faculty of Arts. I'm also a professor of philosophy. So you might guess that money making has not been high on my priority list. You don't go into philosophy because you want to make money. But meaning making, on the other hand, has been that's sort of a reason to go into not just to study philosophy as an undergraduate, but to continue in philosophy and to want to teach philosophy. So I want to speak a bit about sort of following on Valerie's, I think, point in a way that was not scripted, but actually works nice to talk about. What I see the work of philosophy and in humanistic disciplines more generally is really about articulating meaning, about what is genuinely important. Because if we have a clear sense of what's important, then we can maybe answer some of the questions Valérie raised about, what's money for, right? Like it's important, is it a good in itself, or is it something that we need in order to accomplish other things we want to do? But there's even ambiguity in the claim about what, this phrase, what is genuinely important. It might mean what's important to me, It might mean what's important to us, and then we can ask who the us is there. And it might mean what is truly or timelessly important. And so what is in play when we ask about meaning is really depends on which of those senses we want to foreground and think about. Paul, framed this discussion in terms of Shakespeare. I'm going to jump forward to the 19th century and a philosophical movement that came to be called existentialism, and it was captured by Jean-Paul Sartre in the 20th century in a motto, existence precedes essence. And this motto positions itself, I'll give you a crash course in philosophy right now. The motto positions itself against a different traditional philosophical view that holds that essence or the nature of a thing, say human nature, precedes its existing. And so in coming into being and coming into existence, what that thing does is determined by its nature or its essence. So what's genuinely important in that worldview is that aligning with your nature. Existentialism kind of flips that on its head and says we each come into existence undetermined to do whatever we will do. And it's up to us to establish what will guide our actions, that it's up to us to determine what makes meaning in our lives. So existentialism is often positioned as individualistic. The sort of classics of existential literature are about individual choices that particular characters make in difficult circumstances. Sartre's example is choosing to fight with the resistance or to tend to your sick and dying mother. That's an existential choice. That's the paradigm of an existential choice. That's an individual choice. He's choosing what's really important to you, and it's meant to be not an easy choice, right? Like your mother's important, the resistance is important, not easy. To choose which is more important to you. And the question, that individualistic sense, is what's important to me. But the same idea applies to collectives, and each of us forms a part of sets of interconnected groups, and we can ask what's important to us, what's important to the integrity of one or another of a group in which we're a part. At McGill, as a professor, I'm part of at least 3 groups. The Department of Philosophy, the Faculty of Arts, and the University of McGill. And as dean, one of my responsibilities, whether I like it or not, as my fellow deans will attest, is to decide what's important for the faculty, right? And to make meaning for that group by articulating a vision for the faculty. Of course, visions can be pipe dreams, as Shakespeare often illustrates too. And in order to be realized, they need resources. And so part of the job, and resources, I should say, are finite, as we all know. So we need to make money. And one of the most important questions, I think, for an academic administrator, like a dean, is how ought you to make money? What are the boundaries that you want to hold yourself accountable to in order to get the resources you need to realize your vision? And on the flip side of that is, how do you allocate the scarce resources that you have, and or the not infinite resources that you have? Maybe sometimes it's not scarce. Choices have to be made, and in making those choices, you're prioritizing some parts of your faculty over others, inevitably. These are not easy choices. They're choices that are, I think, what keep deans up at night, I think, more than anything else, because we know that there's going to be consequences and implications going forward. And that effectively we're going to be making meaning, making our faculty be something in light of those choices. So those are my philosophical reflections on this
Thank
big
you
question.
so much. I'm giving in advance warning to Mark Daley. We will get him on after. I would like, Alain, you're off the hook on this one. I want to ask the three deans. Alain was mentioning individual walking the talk and so on cross-disciplinarity. What can you do further than what you are doing now to make institutionally walk the talk everyone? Starting with you, Madame Maidi.
So how can we influence the institution? If I understood the question, it is how can the deans influence not just their faculties, but McGill? Is that correct?
Yes
No?
and no. Institutionalize really so that within your faculty, with the other faculty, it is not just a few individuals who walk the talk, but the whole ecosystem.
Oh, that is my goal. So we at Desautels, we have a tagline about preparing the leaders of tomorrow, and it's all about leadership for me, and leadership is influence. So as we emphasize values that go beyond money making, and that include meaning making, and valuing the individual, valuing community, not just valuing nice shiny baubles, and more excess, what you were speaking to, I think we release those who shape their businesses, communities, politics, society. So it's through creating leaders that at Desautels we transform.
Valérie, how can those management leaders connect with you in agriculture?
Yeah, well, definitely in agriculture and food, we usually need the support from management because we're not so good at it in terms of making the right amount of money to survive. Like, so micro enterprise in the food area, always fail or only survive for a little bit, so they need that support. So, and we had discussions with Yolande already about having partnerships between our faculty and Desautels, because there's a lot of great ideas that come out of agricultural, food and environment, and technology, new products, but then they never lead to anything because they're not supported into development and micro enterprise. So there's a need there, and there is already an openness between the two faculties. And I think that next generation of students wants to start their own business. They want to do well, they want to grow, but they need that support, which I cannot in our faculty support, but Desautels could. So that's the way of doing it, being open to that partnership, being open to work together, breaking down those silos.
So the Faculty of Arts is a very large and diverse faculty with philosophers, but also with political scientists, economists, and we run the gamut. But I think one thing that, when we talk about business decisions and business leaders and community leaders being aware of their values, we have to understand that's not just a matter of asserting that we value something. We need to understand what the reasons are for that valuation, why these values rather than other values. And that's in the Faculty of Arts, across the faculty, that's what my disciplines do, is articulate not just what the values are, but explain the reasons why it's important to be ecologically responsible, right? Why we can assert that it's valuable, but we need to, in order to really live that, we need to understand why it's valuable. And so that takes practice, that takes engaging in conversation, and we're very much keen on being parts of those conversations to enrich the work that's being done in Desautels, in the Faculty of Agriculture and Environmental Science, in medicine, in engineering, and in computing science in the Faculty of Science, that having a whole range of experts in various enterprises be able to be reflective about the impact, not just the impact of their decisions, but why one impact is perhaps preferable to another impact. And so all of these work together, I think, to bring different skill sets into conversations with each other.
Let me follow on what you're saying, Lisa. It seems to me so important, the conversation we're having right now about the place of the university and what the university can do to help the world move forward. And one of the things that I find on my side of the campus, on my side of the Faculty of Arts, is that we have great thinkers. They're wonderful thinkers, and they're so important. They also have to learn how to do, how to make. And that's why we need a great increase in the kind of interdisciplinarity that we're seeing at the university that we're talking about now. That will mean that the kinds of things you're talking about, Lisa, the kind of value decisions that have to be made about what we do are integral to the doing and the making that our students are dying to get out and do. Thank you.
Before introducing Anthony, I want to invite my friend and colleague, Mark Daley. Mark is, what is your title, Mark? You are in academic leadership also. He is the Chief AI Officer at the Western University in Ontario. He is also an extremely creative thinker that has been devoting for the last 3 or 4 years, Mark, you are my recent recruit, but working on how can AI and digital ecosystem and so on do as good as possible in accelerating those transformation toward this money-making and meaning-making convergence. He was part of the panel, but he has to leave by 10:30, so that's why I said we will be having his comment at this point in time. Welcome, Mark.
Thanks so much for the introduction, Laurette. I'm going to do my best to link AI to Shakespeare, but forgive me. It was my art, not literature, so you may well laugh at me. The mistake we're collectively making, I think, with AI right now is we're so focused on what's happening right now, which is already transformative and interesting, that we've forgotten our strategic foresight muscles, and we're not looking at the horizon and what's coming in the very near future. So what I want to do is propose a scenario, and I'm not saying that this will happen with certainty. This is a thought experiment. Imagine 5 years from now, we inhabit a world where everyone who wants it has access to a digital assistant with the human equivalent IQ of 500. May not happen, but what if it did? So I actually looked to Shakespeare for answers for that. So the first set of things you think about is power. And so you've got Macbeth, which warns us about ambition unrestrained by ethics. And superintelligent AI could well turbocharge a single individual or small group and amplify moral hazards. Julius Caesar warns us of the tension between democracy and tyranny. And ubiquitous superintelligent AI could empower grassroots movements, or it could empower manipulative autocrats. The fragility of the mind confronting the unknowable. So Hamlet in King Lear, of course. Hamlet warns too much information can paralyze action, and existential angst rises up when the lines between reality and illusion blur. In a world of infinite AI-generated options and viewpoints, you may end up with collective decision paralysis.
And King Lear reminds us that as a human being, the loss of old certainties leaves you disoriented at the individual level and at the societal level. And if AI were to upend professional social identities, we may end up feeling like Lear. Hierarchies and flux in the leveling potential of AI. So Henry V in Merchant of Venice. And Henry V, we see a leader who crosses class lines and is able to unify disparate groups. With democratized, intelligent AI, anyone, rural villager or executive, could tackle major challenges, which could potentially reshape the power structures of our world. But the Merchant of Venice warns us that social prejudices and flawed contracts endure even beneath shiny technological veneers. Even if knowledge is free, our cultural biases and our systemic inequalities will persist if we're not mindful about that. So ultimately, Shakespeare's universe is one in which human conflicts, love, jealousy, betrayal, ambition, compassion play out against a backdrop of large, uncontrollable forces: fate, magic, nature, the march of history, and maybe AI. So for me, the genius of Shakespeare wasn't just the language, it was his diagnosis of the human condition under stress, in love, at war, and in awe. The bard reminds us that knowledge isn't wisdom and power isn't virtue. No matter how advanced our instruments, our technology becomes, we are still the protagonists of our own moral and existential dramas. And Shakespeare's work endures precisely and very on point for what we're discussing today, because it insists on our capacity for both folly and transcendence. And it warns us that with every new magic, including the magic of AI, comes a test of character.
Excellent. I need to ask you, while I'm seeing you this morning, what do you think with all the kind of political dynamics now, where many of the AI leaders are kind of getting very, very front scene in moving, whether we go democracy, oligarchy, or I don't think we'll be back to monarchy, but what are your thoughts there, Mark?
We're seeing different paths. So the EU has taken a path of thoughtful regulation that some are criticizing as heavy-handed, and that's fair, but at least they're grappling with the interface between the technology and society at a governance level. Meanwhile, the United States, which houses most of the top AI research labs, the ones most likely to make major breakthroughs that would be societally transformative, the new president has just repealed Biden's executive order on AI safety, and as of yet has replaced it with nothing, and has sort of messaged that he's in favor of a laissez-faire capitalism approach to AI. So that suggests that we are going to see even faster innovation in the US, which is exciting, but innovation without careful reflection on how that's going to change the society in which the innovation is taking place. So the magic is the innovation, and the test of character is, what do we do with that?
Thank you. Do we have time for a few questions, or we shift to? You're okay.
It's okay. Yeah, thanks. I think AI has the potential for immense good and could greatly help humanity. However, as I've seen in my program and as I was writing my thesis, that it could lead to a lack of critical thought, that a lot of art studies are very important to thought-provoke their students and to provide the ability to have critical thought, because I think that AI could lead to a lot of herd mentality. People could just have something that thinks for them, and that's what we've seen with ChatGPT, for example. How, I think this could be for the Dean of Desautels, for example, what do you concretely do to provide a holistic approach to your students, like in class, do you blend a lot of disciplines together that come from the arts, or do you just teach economics? Because it's one thing to have a vision for your faculty, it's another thing to apply it in class to your students, and a lot of them go into economics not necessarily to do good, but economics is something that's so impersonal in a lot of ways because you just see the world in numbers instead of people.
Thank you so much. An excellent question. We do several things. If we start with our students, I will point out that we've recently launched the Center for Ethics. So we have a Center for Ethics and Equity. And actually the director of the Center for Ethics is one of two academics at McGill leading the response to ChatGPT and some of the recent AI developments. So we've also recently announced an ethics concentration. Our students at Desautels have the opportunity to focus on ethics as they go through their 4 years or 3 years with us. In addition, we have in the room Sabine Dagher, who not only directs MDIM, one of the sponsoring organizations or bodies today, because DELV is run out of MDIM, but directs the IMSF, which is a program that allows our undergrad students to do projects in the community that bring business and meaning together, that deal with difficult situations, for instance, those that have ethical consequences with business, bring them together. I will say not only do we focus on our students, our research is critical in this area. So we have many scholars, and I'm myself do research on AI and its impacts. We have many of our scholars. I am the least example, but I do that. I currently with MIT actually, I'm involved in a project that's looking at some of this. So with our teaching, with our research, and in our service, our community projects, etc., it comes together very importantly for us at Desautels.
Mark, do you want to add something?
Just add to, agree with all that's been said, add to what the questioner originally proposed. There's an even greater danger in that the frontier models are being controlled by a small number of companies who may have clear political or social agendas. And so that it's not just that we might outsource critical thinking and forget how to think critically, it's that we might outsource it to an agent that actually has intent to manipulate our beliefs in a way that's subtle enough that we don't even notice. And so that's an additional concern.
No, because we are recording.
Hi. So if we accept, and I don't want to prejudge the ending of the meeting, but that we need a convergence of money making and meaning making, as you look at the students in your faculties, do you think we're doing a better job of making meaning makers or money makers? And what do you need to change in your faculties to strike a better balance?
Someone else like to start? I'd love to respond to you.
I think the nature of my own faculty, they're here to meaning making, because everybody that comes at McDonald campus comes with the idea that they want to save the planet, right? They start with that premise. And after that, they figure out, oh, maybe I can also make money while I do that. I think we all have good intentions, but then we forget what those good intentions are once we are spoiled. So I think it's just trying to keep that spirit.
So if I could just quickly answer, I know we're short on time. First of all, at the very highest level, the faculty's priorities. Today's 4 priorities for this management faculty are, yes, the traditional technology, but we have broadened that to managing disruption, including AI, sustainability, equity and inclusion, and also entrepreneurship. Our students are much more interested today in social entrepreneurship than the students of even 10 years ago. The ways in which business schools are being ranked, it's being revolutionized, because now it's not about the large salary when you leave, and that's still inherent in some of the traditional rankings. It's about it's about impact, and the way our students think, very, very different. I think we're seeing both, and in fact, although finance is about 40% of our students in terms of their major, 60% of our students are focused on meaning, not money.
Would you join me in thanking our wonderful guests? Thank you. Thank you. It was fabulous.